It's our fundraiser here at KSFR, and we'd be delighted if you chose to give us a few bucks. Call our number, 505-428-1393. Almost gave you our newsroom number, 428-1393. A lot of other people here today answering the phones. They're using some of our space, some of our equipment, but despite that, we got some interesting stories. One on a forest thinning project in Santa Fe, and another on a proposal approved by New Mexico lawmakers to establish a national research administration in Santa Fe for energy research. It asked the congressional delegation to get things rolling in Washington. We'll get a reaction from the congressional delegation. State lawmakers have unanimously passed a bill asking the New Mexico congressional delegation in Washington to go to work and see if it's possible to establish Santa Fe as the site for a new National Center for Energy Research Administration, sort of what the Pentagon is to the military. It's a memorial, so it's not binding, and certainly not binding on the state's U.S. senators and representatives. The idea came from an economist and energy advocate named Miro Kovacevic, who's based in Santa Fe. While New Mexico lawmakers passed the memorial, the burden of following up would be on the state's representatives in Washington. I asked the state's ranking senator, Jeff Bingaman, what he thought of that idea.
Well, frankly, I don't think it would likely be possible. I just saw this resolution here this morning that our state legislature passed. It calls for a very substantial appropriation, I think $7 billion each year, to our two laboratories in New Mexico, to in addition to what they currently are involved with. I think that, of course, would be a very heavy lift and difficult to sell to others here in the Congress, given the size of the deficits we're faced with. And then the idea setting up a National Renewable Energy Administration. I have not seen that proposed here in the Congress. We have a renewable energy laboratory up in Golden, Colorado, and of course we have a lot of work related to renewable energy going on at Sandia and at Los Alamos, which I think we need to build on, but I don't see us enacting an entire new administration and headquartering it in Santa Fe as this resolution proposes.
But the resolution does simply suggest that the delegation get together and make that proposal. Would that be possible for the delegation to consider doing?
Well, we can consider it. As I say, I think we would first want to assess whether or not it had any real potential for being enacted. I don't want to just be proposing things in order to for public relations purposes if we don't have any prospect of enacting it, and frankly, I'm doubtful that we would have much prospect of enacting this.
Senator Jeff Bingaman. Well, Miro Kovacevic developed that idea for a National Center for Energy Research Administration to be headquartered in Santa Fe. Miro Kovacevic on the line now. You heard what Senator Bingaman had to say. Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that it's time to be decisive, bold, and to respond to the challenge of times properly in a place which can do job sufficiently fast for the nation, not only for New Mexico, for the nation and for the world. So I think that the organizing principles are important. You know, we cannot continue doing things as we're doing, and we don't have enough time. Times are urgent. As you see, the economic unraveling is direct consequence of energy crisis. And, you know, the whole cost of oil, and when you include the military budget and the whole projection of power mechanism, it's $10 per barrel already. You know, so we have, let alone the ecological costs, you know, the externalities and all of that. So the whole system is on the verge of collapse because they don't have enough courage to do the job. They are people's servants, particularly, you know, the federal legislature. They are responsible for their constituents, in this case, New Mexico, for the nation and for the world at whole. We are still the top dog of the world. So there is a time to calibrate response to the magnitude of the challenge. That's what I'm saying. So therefore, the establishment of administration is necessary to organize both research and deliver solutions that would make the difference, that will, in other words, calibrate the response.
You say only New Mexico. It has to be New Mexico. Why? Because of the renewable energy potential in this state?
Well, if we want to do for generations to come, if we have to respond with the energy that is good, that's lasting, that allows the good civilization to be built on it, in other words, the progression of humanity, then you have to do it with a clean, good energy. So basically, on this continent, in this country, you can only have Southwest and national labs leading the way, and New Mexico has both.
Well, I know that you're pleased that the Senate Joint Memorial 33 was passed unanimously in Santa Fe. Now comes the delicate task of moving the congressional delegation in Washington to do something. If the senior New Mexico senator is not behind it, or not behind it right now, what else would you move to do?
I think he has a responsibility. He's a people's servant. So therefore, it's only time, and I think he's a good man. Point is they just don't have to recognize necessity to respond at the size and speed that matters. That's my point. And he alone, New Mexico alone cannot do it. That's why we are working on the National Alliance to break the political impasse. Why we don't have time to invest elsewhere. Right now California is going for the kill. They have a role to play. But based on the obsolete, I would say, superseded paradigm of information technologies, that is location independent. Well, energy is not. In order to have the cost down, economics of it, you have to do it where you must because it's resource dependent. That's why New Mexico.
Miro Kovacevic is an economist and an advocate for energy. He was behind that memorial passed by the state legislature here in New Mexico to seek congressional delegation approval and backing for a National Energy Research Administration facility, an organization to be centered in Santa Fe, maybe somewhere else in New Mexico.